For the longest time, I thought I was losing. I was 25, and every night this little screen became my personal scorecard. A friend from college just got promoted to senior manager. -1 point for me. Another just posted pictures from their honeymoon in Bali. -another point. Someone bought their first apartment in the city. Game over. I'd close the app feeling this hollow ache in my chest, a quiet panic that screamed, "You are falling behind." I was doing everything I was told to do. I had the good job, I went to the networking events, I built the impressive-looking resume. On paper, I was winning. But inside, I felt like a fraud, running on a treadmill that was accelerating, and I was just moments away from being flung off the back. The more I chased what looked like success, the more hollow I felt. And then, at a reunion, it all came crashing down. Surrounded by the highlight reels of my peers, I had nothing spectacular to report. I'd spent the last year doing what I now call invisible work, going to therapy, ending toxic friendships, figuring out what I actually valued, not what my parents or society valued for me. It was the most important work of my life, but it had zero status attached. That night, I went home and felt like a complete and utter failure. Staring at the ceiling, I realized my entire strategy for life was wrong. I was playing to look good, not to be good. So I threw out the old rulebook and created a new one, based on 3 simple, invisible principles. It's the system that saved me, and it's what I call the I.C.E. method. It's a paradox. The more desperately you chase the markers of success in your 20s, the more likely you are to sabotage your capacity for long-term success. But what if you could spend your 20s building a foundation so deep and so solid that success becomes inevitable? That's what I'm going to show you today. Not theory, but a practical, step-by-step plan. Let's start with the first asset, the most misunderstood of all. Identity. Forget everything you've been told about finding your passion. That's a trap. Your 20s aren't about finding a fixed, perfect identity. They're about building one through action and experimentation. I stopped asking, "What am I passionate about?" and started asking, "What makes me feel alive?" and "What drains my energy?" So I started a weird experiment. I called it my energy journal. Every night, for just 5 minutes, I wrote down the answer to 2 questions. What gave me energy today, and what took it away? Was it that strategic meeting at work, or was it the 30-minute side project I worked on during my lunch break? Was it the big party on Saturday night, or the quiet one-on-one conversation I had with a close friend? After a month, the pattern was undeniable. The things that society told me should be fulfilling, the status meetings, the large social gatherings, were draining me. The things that felt small and insignificant, deep creative work, authentic conversations, learning a new skill, were lighting me up. I wasn't finding my identity, I was uncovering it by collecting data on my own life. This journal became my compass, pointing me away from the noise and toward my true north. But a clear identity without the power to act on it is just a pleasant daydream. I knew I loved writing, but for years I felt stuck. I was just a writer. It wasn't until I discovered the power of skill stacking that I broke free and multiplied my value tenfold. This is the C in I.C.E., capacity. And here's how you build it. This isn't just about learning skills. It's about building skill stacks. The world is full of people who are decent at one thing. The real power comes from being good at 3 things that complement each other. In my early 20s, I was just a decent writer, but then I decided to build a stack. I spent 6 months dedicating 30 minutes every single day to learning SEO. Then another 6 months learning the basics of video editing. Suddenly, I wasn't just a writer. I was a writer who could get his own work to the top of Google and turn it into engaging video content. My value didn't just double or triple, it grew exponentially. The secret wasn't genius, it was consistency. I used what I call a 30-day skill sprint. Pick one skill, just one, and commit to 30 minutes of focused practice every day for 30 days. No excuses. The goal isn't to become an expert. The goal is to prove to yourself that you can build a system for learning. Once you master the system, you can apply it to any skill you want forever. And there's a crucial part of building capacity that most people avoid like the plague: embracing discomfort. I created a rule for myself called the Compass of Discomfort. If a task or opportunity made my stomach churn just a little bit, whether it was public speaking, pitching a bold idea, or having a difficult conversation, I knew that was the direction I had to go. Because growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone. It happens right at the edge of it. Okay, so you know who you are and you're building powerful skills. You're unstoppable, right? Wrong. There's a silent killer that derails more 20-somethings than anything else, and I almost became its victim. This brings us to the final and most crucial asset: energy protection. Without it, everything else is worthless. Our culture glorifies the hustle, the grind, the 24/7 work ethic. But that's a recipe for a short, brilliant flameout. True long-term players aren't the ones who burn the brightest. They're the ones who learn how to manage their flame. I did this by conducting a ruthless energy audit. I took a piece of paper and drew two columns. On the left, energy givers. On the right, energy takers. I listed people, activities, and even information sources. Under givers were friends who listened, exercise, reading books, working on my projects. Under takers were friends who only talked about themselves, mindless scrolling, the nightly news, and pointless meetings. The results were shocking. I was spending 80% of my time with the takers. So I made a conscious shift. It wasn't about cutting people off dramatically. It was about strategically reallocating my most precious resource, my time and attention. I started scheduling calls with my giver friends. I replaced the nightly news with a book. I started saying no to social events that I knew would drain me. And I implemented two non-negotiable rules. First, the digital sunset. At 9 p.m. every single night, my phone goes into airplane mode and stays there until the next morning. My brain finally gets a chance to unwind without the constant drip of dopamine and cortisol from notifications. And second, my non-negotiable recovery. One full weekend day is completely disconnected from work. No emails, no quick check-ins. It's for hiking, for family, for doing absolutely nothing. At first, it felt lazy. Now I realize it's the most productive thing I do all week. So let me ask you a question. As you look at your own life, at your own 20s, are you building a resume or are you building a foundation? Are you collecting visible trophies or are you cultivating invisible assets? Because the secret is this: the race you think you're in, it doesn't exist. There is no finish line at 30. By focusing on identity, capacity, and energy, you stop playing their game and you start building your own. You create a life so aligned with who you are, so resilient in your capabilities, and so sustainable in your energy, that external success isn't something you chase anymore. It's something that can't help but find you. Imagine waking up 5 years from now. The first thing you feel isn't anxiety. It's not the pressure to check your phone. It's purpose. You're not playing someone else's game anymore. You're the architect of your own. That future isn't a lottery ticket you hope to win. It's a structure you decide to build. The work starts today. The choice is yours.